The dream ended with Applejack kissing her, forcing Rainbow to wake up with a fright. Ever since then she couldn't fall back asleep, and her mind was muddled with thoughts that she'd previously shoved away. Rainbow Dash had always felt something for the orange earth pony since the day they met 4 years ago, but never knew what those feelings were until a year later. She had kept her crush to herself and never spoke a word of it to any pony. She never thought about other ponies like that, mare or colt. Rainbow Dash used to hate herself for thinking like a filly fooler. She even hated the word, because it basically was her name in flight school. Dash had never really acted like a mare, but like a colt, as other ponies had said, and hence the name. Unfortunately, that was the nicest name she had ever been given. However, her past wasn't the problem. It was the present that was bothering her. Why had this dream come up now? She thought she had put these feelings away years ago. Why was it she was suddenly reminded of some pony she couldn't have all of a sudden? Rainbow Dash snorted out hot breath of frustration as she fluttered a section of her cloud bed into a pillow for her chin to rest upon. Her large magenta eyes sagged as she focused merely on her hooves stretched out in front of her. She didn't bother to flick her prismatic bangs out of her face. It simply seemed like too much energy to waste. Rainbow Dash had once planned on telling Applejack how she felt, more to ease the clam in her heart than to see what she'd say, for she knew the earth pony would only reject her. Applejack never seemed to be the type to case a thought towards liking another mare more than just a friend. 2 years ago, Rainbow had prepared herself to confess to Applejack, but on the day she planned to do so, twilight had moved to town. The events that immediately followed were simply more important than her confession. Ever since that day, Rainbow and Applejack had become closer friends. Unfortunately, that was the problem. They had been too good of friends. The problem was twofold. For one, their friendship could prevent Applejack from ever thinking about Rainbow in a romantic way, even if she did like mares. And two, even if the farmer gave Pegasus a chance, what would happen if the relationship failed? How could they be friends again after that? Rainbow could never lose a friend like her, even if it meant suffocating her love for... Wait, love? Rainbow Dash's eyes shot open, and she could almost feel her pupils shrink to tiny pinpricks. The word love has never come across her mind when she thought of a close friend. Her feelings had never become more than a simple crush, maybe an infatuation. Is that why her heart felt so heavy? Was that why she couldn't sleep or think about anything else? Was that why her dreams infected her mind the night before? Dash started, not believing what she admitted to herself. I love her. I love Applejack. The thought didn't seem to make sense until she spoke the words. Now Rainbow Dash was overwhelmed with a heart-warming emotion. It soothed her body and mind, bringing an odd sense of happiness to her soul. However, as soon as she dared smile, an infinite amount of sorrow overtook her. Before last night she was able to shake her feelings for the farm pony and act as if they never existed. But now, there was no way. The new feeling was far too conspicuous to hide, too powerful to push away. It was a feeling that occupied her entire being, like nothing else mattered. "Oh no," she muttered, starting to panic. Her wings fluttered as she held her hooves to her temples. "Oh no 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 no! This can't be happening! This just can't be happening!" Rainbow jumped when she saw something moving across the floor of the cloud in her peripheral vision. She exhaled when she saw it was only Tank, cocking his small green head at her as if to ask, "What's up with you?" "Oh, hey Tank, guess you learned how to open a door, somehow," laughed Rainbow, in a nervous sort of fashion. She looked out the window again to see it was already mid-morning. She was supposed to be in Cloudsdale by now, retrieving her weekly weather schedule. There was a small crack of lightning coming from the other side of her cloud home. A Pegasus was knocking on her door. No other type of pony could cause electricity to occur from a cloud. Rainbow Dash suddenly remembered the messenger was supposed to fly by and see why she hadn't come to work. The Scion Pegasus jumped off her bed and walked over to her mirror, making sure she indeed looked sick enough to stay home. She wouldn't have to feign anything, except maybe a cough, for her sorrow had etched the look of pain across her face. For a moment she thought her rainbow mane had actually darkened a shade or two, but immediately dismissed this ridiculous thought as she walked to the front door. She made sure to keep her head hung low as she slowly opened the door. With a pang of sorrow, she noticed she couldn't even exaggerate her pained features any more than was natural. The Cloudsdale messenger was a young colt, maybe a few years younger than her, garbed in a simple red vest with a cloud symbol stitched in the chest. His coat was a light shade of green, completely clashing against his uniform. Rainbow would have normally smiled at what Rarity would say about this, but even if she hadn't feigned sickness, a smile was just impossible right now. His blue mane was a lot longer than most colts would have it, tied in a greasy tail.
"Miss Rainbow Dash?"
he asked in a nasally voice. The satin Pegasus nodded meekly.
"Your superiors would like to know why you haven't reported to Cloudsdale this morning. Really bad stomach flu. I had it all weekend,"
said Dash, her voice low and haggard. It was the first sickness she could come up with. It was solid, for it kept her out of work for an unnumbered amount of days. The young colt blinked. A small look of concern crossed his face.
"Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that,"
he said sincerely.
"Well, I'll be sure to inform the weather team, Miss Dash. I'm sure they'll wish you well." "Thank you. Tell them I said I'm really sorry I couldn't make it in,"
she said. Rainbow had indeed meant it. She may have been lazy at times, putting her work off until the very last minute, but she had always gotten to work and done her job the fastest than any other Pegasus in Cloudsdale or Ponyville. You don't become chief of the weather team for nothing. With that the messenger nodded, took wing back to Cloudsdale, allowing Rainbow to close her front door. The Scion Pegasus sighed and hung her head even lower, her mane obscuring her vision. She fell onto her haunches and watched as Tank finally made his way into the living room, still looking concerned. It took a while for him to reach her, but Rainbow was patient. She rubbed the top of his shell with a hoof, appreciative of the caring pet.
"Now what do I do, Tank?"
she asked the tortoise, who merely gave her a slow shrug.
"Oh, yeah. I always forget you can't talk."
She forced a laugh, trying her best to find a smile in her pained heart. Rainbow looked out the living room window, wondering if she ever have the energy to take a quick flight. She hadn't been outside since yesterday morning. The day before she retired early due to bruising her shoulder from a slight crash into a large oak tree, and she couldn't find anything else to do, because all of her friends were busy with the last day of the weekend. The next few days were exactly the same, except each passing sunset brought more and more pain. The nights barely held any sleep, for each time she tried, it only brought another dream of her friend. And after 2 nights, Rainbow couldn't even bring herself to even try to sleep. And during the day, she didn't have any energy to leave her home. Tank was happy to have so much company, but he could still see the pain his owner was in, and every now and then he would slowly tow over to her and give the pained Pegasus an affectionate nuzzle on the hoof. Her appetite was pretty much shot, for every time she tried to eat something, Dash's stomach would only reject it. Dash had started to feel lost, scared even. It only took 4 days for her personality to wither away. The once fearless, proud, ultimately happy pony had become a shell filled only with the tangible sorrow. How did this happen? How did she become so defeated and helpless over one measly dream? Rainbow silently berated herself for losing this mental battle without at least a fight. However, Rainbow Dash at least kept a small part of herself together, a small part of her pride. As hurt as she was, Rainbow never let herself cry over the love she could never have. One afternoon she heard a voice from the ground below. "Rainbow Dash! Are y'all up there or not?" Rainbow positively panicked at the sound of the voice. She knew instantly who it was. She could feel herself actually trembling, unsure of what to do. And after the past few days, Dash didn't know if she could face her. Did she respond to the pony below, or hide and pretend she wasn't home? After thinking about it for a few moments, she realized that eventually the farm pony would consult Twilight, and sure enough she would cast that darn cloud-walking spell and end up at her front door. Rainbow sighed, defeated. She slowly poked her nauseated head out her bedroom window, and saw the orange earth pony below, her face full of worry. She had a large set of saddlebags strapped to her back, and they looked to be stuffed. Maybe she was on her way to the Ponyville market to sell her fruit.